3, 2, 1. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another exciting film journey here on Delusions of Grandeur. As we start this new month on both shows of Delusions of Grandeur and Inside Movies Galore, we're doing Star Wars films. So I think it's kind of cool that we're actually doing Rogue One as we lead into to tomorrow night's discussion on Inside, doing the original Star Wars. But that being said, this was a choice brought to us by our good friend Crow here, who is an avid Star Wars fanatic. And
super fanatic.
he would probably lay down his life to have a Star Wars role. But that being said, this film was the film that he chose is Rogue One, a Star Wars story, which originally it was called Rogue One. It was filmed in 2016. It was directed by Gareth Edwards, written by Chris Weitz, Tony Gilroy, and John Knoll. It stars Felicity Jones, Diego Luna, Alan Tudyk, Donnie Yen, Wen Jiang, Ben Mendelsohn, Guy Henry, Forrest Whitaker, Riz Ahmed, Mads Mikkelsen, who played Hannibal in the TV series, and Jimmy Smits. But let us go into what IMDb says about the film.
I want to say Jimmy Smith starred in it. He was in it for like 2 seconds.
In a time of conflict, a group of unlikely heroes band together on a mission to steal the plans to the Death Star, the Empire's ultimate weapon of destruction. Which is basically it in a nutshell. Except, except for the fact that we know that it's not just the plans; it's the plans for the weakness in that was built into the Death Star as part of a revenge plot for the rebellion. But let us go into first impressions of the film. Let's start with you, Boris. Was this a first time watch for you?
No, it was the second time, and I must say I don't mean really any disrespect to any Star Wars fan, but this movie personally disappointed me because, because it ended the way it did. To make it simple, okay, I know that what they did needed to be done for the events of A New Hope to happen, but I don't know. I personally had a feeling that, okay, spoiler alert, although most people know how this movie ends, I personally thought it wasn't really necessary for the main characters to end up dying. And basically every character, not only the main characters, but every character this movie makes you care about ends up dead. And to me personally, that was a disappointment. That's maybe an ending for a horror movie, but in a Star Wars movie it just feels like a downer. No hard feelings to anyone.
Well, to be honest, there are a lot of people who died throughout the Star Wars universe, so it's not really not a norm.
Okay, yeah, that's true, but this is, to me, this is the way it would have felt if Luke Skywalker had died at the end of Return of the Jedi, or at the end of A New Hope, rather than
Sacrilege.
what? Yeah, it would be a sacrilege if Luke
What you're
had
saying
died.
is sacrilege.
Why?
Wipe it out of your mouth and your head.
Sorry, but okay. If you don't think this movie could have ended better, you can provide your arguments why you think. If you think Jean and Cassian shouldn't have stayed alive at the end, you can say why you think so.
Well, let us go over to Tammy. Was this a first time watch for you?
No, this is what, second or third. I watched it as many times as you did.
Yep.
So, I thought it was pretty good. I have to agree with Boris just a little bit though. I I wish the two main characters didn't die in the end. You know, after everything they went through to get the message out, it would have been cool if they would have made it. You know, but
Mm,
that is a little bit disappointing that they didn't get to move on. You know, but
yeah.
I don't remember the name of that robot that was always helping them.
K K2 S. I think
KS2.
AS2,
KS20.
KS20. I got a kick out of him.
He's hilarious.
Yeah, he was also good, and I was also disappointed that he was destroyed as well.
I was and I wasn't, because you know what? He put up such a fight and did everything he possibly could to help him. I mean, he went above and beyond, I think, for a robot. You know,
Mm,
he put in his all for them.
Guess who
So,
that was?
He's a droid.
A2SO.
huh.
Resident Alien. The dude who plays the Resident Alien series.
His voice?
Yeah.
Oh, I mean the banter at the beginning between him and Jen. Was her name Jen? Right?
Yeah.
Jin.
Jin.
Jin? Between him and
Jin
Jin
Erso.
yeah. There was, I mean, it still continued further, but it was more fun when they were banter, you know. Later on it was more fun jokes, but at the beginning it was funny, but they weren't fun jokes, you know. They were really bantering.
Oh, I laughed through all their banter. I mean,
Yeah.
most of everything that the droid, not robot. I'll forgive you though. It was funny. You know, it was very, very much comic relief, and unlike certain prequel characters, actually was comic relief.
I thought it
I
was, but I thought the movie itself was pretty good. You know, even though this was like my third time watching it, there were still moments that I was sitting there going, "Oh, come on, come on, come on, come on, come on! Oh, yeah, yeah, get that! Oh, like, you it kept you interested, and it kept you like on the edge of your seat at moments and everything. So, um, for the most part, I have liked the Star Wars franchise. You know, my first introduction to any of it was way back when Empire Strikes Back came out, when it came out in the theater. And my great grandmother took me to go see it. That was the first one I ever saw. And that was my first introduction to any of the franchise, was that. And I liked it. My great grandmother didn't. Chewbacca scared her.
uh, uh, okay, fun fact: when I was 8 years old, I was scared of Jabba the Hutt.
Well, there was a part at the beginning of Empire where Chewie like comes down, and you don't expect him. He comes down and he's hanging or whatever. He was working on something, I think,
The
and he
Falcon.
yeah,
Uh,
and he comes
I
down, and my great grandmother would jumped, and I just sat there and looked at it. I was like, oh, cool.
I think I know what he said.
But it was so I have enjoyed the
Yeah, Chewie
franchise
said.
itself. Yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
Sorry.
it took me a little bit to get into all these extra movies because I was so used to just the Star Wars Empire and Return of the Jedi for so many years. I was used to just those three. So when all these other ones started coming out, and then these came out after that, it was just a little bit of like, okay, how many more, and how else are we gonna do this, and what are they gonna come up with, you know? But
Uh,
for the most part, um, I thought the movie was entertaining, and yeah, I mean, I didn't mind watching it again. So I guess that's about it.
Okay. That's more than you've said on any movie, which is a good thing. But anyways, heading over
You know,
to
kiss my behind.
I agree. I was like, wow, she's really going. It is good. I like to hear more from you. You just don't usually say a lot, even when it's your pick.
Alrighty,
I-
heading over to Kroll. I know this was your pick, and I know
Oh, it's my pick. I saw it in the theaters when it first came out. Actually, for the first time, I tried the VIP section of the movie theater I went to. It's one of those stadium type movie theaters. So I went and I saw it in 3D and surround sound. And I figured, why not? Let's go all out. And they have like a VIP section where they you go in to a separate door. There's no line. There's no nothing. You just go into a separate door and you open it up and your seats are right there. Like no climbing up a billion stairs or down. If anyone's been to those stadiums, seating. There's usually a lot of walking up and down just to get to your row, and almost like going to a concert or something. So you go right in, and our seats were like right there and sat you down, and we got menus and we ordered our food. They brought the food right there, like going into a restaurant. Only we were in these seats, and they weren't the normal seats that you go into a movie theater. They were like these big cushion seats that you would have at home with the recliners and stuff. And they allow a table to come across, and I got steak tips, and they
sounds
even
like
I
something
don't
between
drink.
an IMAX theater and a bistro.
Yeah, I don't drink, but they serve beer too if for people that do drink and if they want. This is only for the VIP section, but yeah, it's actually wasn't that much. I mean, movie tickets aren't that cheap anymore, but for this, it really wasn't that much more. And if you order your ticket, you actually get a $5 off the meal itself too. So it's definitely a little more expensive than the average price, but since you're already spending a bit anyways, once in a while, especially if you want to take your girl out or for a special night or something, it's pretty nice to do. It's a nice way to enjoy a movie, and I'm such a huge Star Wars fan, as was said, super Star Wars fan. That I wanted to treat myself to something special, and yeah, it was fun. And now I will go a little bit into my background in Star Wars since Tammy did, and I thought that was cool. My introduction to Star Wars was the very first Star Wars, which wasn't called New Hope then. It was just called Star Wars. New Hope was added afterwards, after the prequels came out. That's when they decided to add the title New Hope. So lots of times when I talk about new Star Wars, I say Star Wars for the first film instead of A New Hope. Sometimes it confuses people, but and then I'll add New Hope occasionally so people will understand, or I'll say the first one. But then again, that can get confusing to some people too, because it wasn't one; it was actually four. It was the first one. If you're not a huge fan, all of it gets confusing to some people, and I get that. I mean, I am a huge fan, so it doesn't confuse me at all. But I do get that, casual people are actually gonna understand why they started 4, 5, 6, then 1, 2, 3, and then did, the spin-off movies and 7, 8, 9, and you know, but yeah. As far as doing all the extra movies, I'm thrilled that they are. But for me, the original trilogy, like I said, I mean, I was 4 years old in the movie theaters when I saw the first Star Wars, and Darth Vader scared the hell out of me. And well, he was a bad guy, so I was confused at why the stormtroopers were in white, because my 4-year-old mind thought the good guys wore white and the bad guys wore black, and that was that. So, but, so I was a little confused with the stormtroopers, because I kind of could tell they were bad guys, but
Oh,
they were
oh
they
yeah,
were in white.
speaking of which, this movie made me wonder why the hell Jean would have a stormtrooper doll as a kid.
I thought it was I don't know, but I thought it was adorable. I thought it was adorable. I mean, I don't know,
Well,
maybe target practice.
okay, in our universe it would be adorable, but in their universe, those
I thought it was
stormtroopers
even
are
more
real,
adorable in
and
their universe, but maybe it was like I said, maybe it was target practice. Maybe you could,
In a
kind of.
in a dictatorship of any kind, if you're under any rule of any like controlling factor, I imagine even the toys were controlled under the
Yeah,
uh,
they probably weren't even allowed to have any other kind of toys. But hey, she could probably you know shoot at it, or whatever, target practice, and do all kinds of things, and pretend it's real stormtroopers, not as intended, but
yeah.
uh, yeah, I thought it was adorable. I'm glad you mentioned that, because yeah, I thought it was adorable. Either way, I thought it was so cool that it was the first time we actually saw like a Star Wars toy in like the Star Wars movies itself, and the way the way
a
they did it,
way of selling the merchandise.
it was. I mean, it was definitely like a Spaceballs moment. But the way they did it, it fit the movie perfectly. Like, it didn't look like they just stuffed it in there for merchandising or anything. It
Uh,
looked like it was naturally there. It was really cool the way they did it.
uh,
But anyways, like I said, when Darth Vader showed up on the screen, I didn't wonder if he was good or bad. I immediately knew he was bad. Knew he scared the hell out of me. I mean, I still watched. I ain't like covering my head or anything. I was like, 4 years old, watching him on screen, and
Well,
yeah,
since
I fell in love with Star Wars at that moment. Watching that, and at the time they had Burger King was giving I was selling separately Star Wars glasses, full glasses, not plastic cups like they do later on, or like actual glasses that had Star Wars pictures on them, collectibles, and they also were selling posters. The movie theaters were selling posters too, but Burger King was working with the theaters to for that as well. I remember getting some of the glasses and the original poster. I wish I had them. I do not have them anymore. Um, and I've seen the other two movies in the theaters as well. Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi. Now, as a kid, it blew my mind, the reveal in Empire Strikes Back. But other than that, I was not a fan of Empire Strikes Back because, well, bad guys won, basically. So as a kid, I definitely did not. But I mean, when I talked to other people, what's your favorite movies? And when I started getting older, and someone would say Empire Strikes Back, I'm like, why? I couldn't understand it. I mean, I understand more as an adult, why people like Empire Strikes Back more. As far as it goes for me, it's Return of the Jedi. I don't know, I love the more fights in Return of the Jedi, the more action. Luke looks awesome. He's now a Jedi, and it just the whole thing in Ewoks world, they're awesome.
When I
So
saw Empire though, I didn't realize because I was a kid, I didn't realize that wasn't the first one. I
yeah,
thought
yeah,
the
yeah.
commercials
It was the
looked
second
fun. I
movie.
thought the commercials looked neat and fun. I told my great grandma, I said, I want to go see that. I want to go see that. I didn't know that there was one before that. I remember when we got done, she looks at me, she goes, I don't know what made you want to see that, but we're not going to go see another one like that again.
Yeah.
All
Shame,
because of Chewbacca.
shame. But anyways,
Uh,
now as for, I know it's kind of a long discussion. I haven't even said anything about this movie yet, but this
uh,
movie, yeah, it's like I said, not the first time I saw it. I've seen it. I kind of lost count. I don't know. I'm guessing 7 or 8 times. Nowhere near as much as the other Star Wars movies. Uh, like I said, big fanatic. So 7 or 8 times is actually a lower amount compared to some of the others. Um, I really love it, and I agree with Boris in that it definitely the first time I saw it, I was very disappointed at the end. I was like, when KS2 there, when he was killed, I was like, no, but I understood for story wise. But then when they killed like everybody, the end, they just like held each other and as the planet just blew up, and I was like, I mean, it was so dramatic. It was such an awesome scene,
Yeah,
but it was still like
Colonel
sad.
Akbar gave that line saying, "Good luck, Rogue One." You were hoping that they were going to like actually
Yeah,
succeed.
I kept expecting it to be like most Star Wars movies and a lot of other movies where they would find a way off the planet at the last minute type thing, and then it blew up, and I was just like, wow,
Instead, they had a
that's
deep
sad.
impact
But
moment.
it kind of takes you back to, I mean, it's a completely different story. But you think about, Romeo and Juliet is probably one of the most beloved stories and told all across everywhere,
Well, I
and
was
that's the
thinking they
saddest
did that.
movie ever. They both die. You
I
you
was
always talk about the
thinking,
greatest love story, but they both dead. And they're both like very young, very very young. They're not even adults yet, and so sometimes it's good, and I think that's why a lot of people thought this is one of their favorites, because of the way they ended. Even if it was sad, it's not my favorite. I do love it. It is great, great, great movie. It was an awesome addition. Even though it's a separate story, it added to it, and in the end, I mean, the whole movie leads up to A New Hope, and especially the end. I mean, the end leads right directly to the ship. I mean, Darth Vader just about catches him, and then when you watch A New Hope, he's like they catch up to that ship, and he gets on there, and it's just a complete continuation. So I thought they did such an awesome job doing that. I just have one little complaint that they did again. They always seem to add some. They have something in Star Wars movies that when they turn around and make a prequel to it, screw up the story. You know, and this one is no different because. I'm sorry for a slight spoiler for those that haven't seen Andor, including my fellow co-host here. But it's been out for a while, so it's your fault for not watching it. Uh, in the series, he actually gets like arrested and is in an Imperial type prison. And in this movie, he says to Chera and Baze that mostly Chera that he's this is his first time being in prison. And then Chera goes, there's different kinds of prisons, basically saying he's a prison in his own mind because of the way he thinks and blah, 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 which is awesome and really cool line. But just, going by what they did in this TV show, which was an awesome TV show, I really enjoyed it. But kind of screwed up. Well, wait a minute. If he's never been in jail, what's this whole 5-6 episodes arc where he's in jail? Again, it was awesome, but kind of messed up that story. But Star Wars does that a lot. And again, it's because they hadn't planned for the TV show when they made the movie. It's like they hadn't planned for the prequels when they made the originals. So I get why, but it definitely makes the story not flow. And I'm not complaining about it. I'm just pointing it out because, I've seen this enough times to notice. I don't like nitpicking movies, and I'm not nitpicking. I'm just pointing out that, it was a little bit inconsistency there.
A story discrepancy.
Right. Which happens a lot. It's happened in the besides the movies, like she was saying, how many can they go? There's actually well over 300 Star Wars novels. Then I don't know how many comic books, and as well as video games that all used to be canon and tied into the original storyline that added upon that. So for me, adding a few extra movies was not much because I've read over 100 of the novels. Read only 4 or 5 of the comics, not a lot of the comics. I'm not a fan of the comics. It's just trying to read through the novels, and some of the major events happened in the comics, so I had to read. Spoiler: Han and Leia getting married. But if you didn't see that coming, where have you been?
Not to forget that Star Wars was also made fun of in Mad Magazine. So
it's made fun of everywhere. Crack.
Yeah.
It's the biggest. They say that imitation is flattery, so that's why it's the biggest one done because everybody loves Star Wars and I watched all the new stuff. You name it. If it's big and they haven't made some kind of imitation of Star Wars or mention of Star Wars, then there's something wrong. Buffy mentions Star Wars. Every big movie out there, just about, unless where it doesn't fit at all, mentions Star Wars. It's because it's such a huge part of the society that we're in. Whether you love Star Wars or not, I don't know who wouldn't, but I know there's some strange people out there that don't. My daughter's one of them, and I just don't get it. But
Strikes Back to fanboys.
I am not a fanboy, as I've mentioned many times. I am not a fanboy. There's a difference between fans and there's a difference between fanboys, and there's also a difference between the toxic fan base that Star Wars has. Unfortunately, Star Wars has one of the worst toxic fan bases around, and I often disagree with most of what they say. I just love Star Wars.
I know you're talking about Star Wars, but Star Trek also has been in a lot of stuff, especially they like to make fun of William Shatner. And
they make fun of Star Trek because it's part of the society as well. It's no Star Wars, but yeah, it's there.
No, but you're saying Star Trek was a big thing, and they have a big
I
following.
agree.
Got their
I agree.
Trekkies
I'm
and
not. I'm
everything.
not disagreeing. Star
There
Trek
are
has-
Star Wars fanboys and there are Star Trek fanboys.
There's
And
Trekkies and there's Trekkers. I know my mom was kind of a Trekkie, but she was also a big Star Wars fan. She was nowadays everybody's a Star Trek and a Star Wars fan. Back in my day, there was a big always fight between Star Trek and Star Wars fans. I always had big arguments. It was fun. My
Are
mom
you?
was one of the original people that liked both of them. Before it was a cool thing to do. I never understood it because I was not a Star Trek fan at that time. I liked a little bit of the episodes, but anyways, but let's not talk about the other franchise that doesn't compare. We back to Star Wars. Yeah, like I said, this movie was great, and it ties into the story, but you can watch it without having to watch any other Star Wars movie and still enjoy it. So it's a great solo film. It's a great addition to the movie, and it fits right in perfectly. And I absolutely love the way they did the CGI of Tarkin and Leia. I mean, I remember reading a thing about Carrie Fisher. Looked at it, was like, oh my god, I'm young. Like
well,
it freaked.
yeah.
It was just like so cool to her because to her it really looked like her young. Like, and this is her, okay. So I don't care all those people that say, CGI stinks or this or that. Like her reaction to herself was like, oh my god, I'm young. Like, and when I saw it, I was like, oh wow, are you Tarkin? It was really cool, but I think it was even better the way they did Leia, and it was really, really awesome. And it led the groundwork to them doing stuff later on and other stuff. And I really love the way they've integrated it and done it. And it was really, really awesome. And I'm glad that Carrie Fisher got to see it and it happened before she tragically passed and left our lives. Rest in peace, Carrie Fisher. So. All right, I'm done. Go ahead, Dave.
So, I guess since you guys kind of went into a backstory of how you got involved with Star Wars, I also remember Star Wars being just called Star Wars. I remember watching the first Star Wars without the New Hope attached to it. It was very fuzzy on a VHS that I think my grandfather had, and we. I know that my grandpa was my grandpa Streggy before he died. Oh, when I was a kid. He had almost every single Star Trek episode taped on VHS. So when we went into his basement, we would watch them. But he also had the original trilogy for quite some time without like the added special effects or anything like that.
Yes, the original
added later. And I remember the trilogy first. In fact, that's why there are bits of Return of the Jedi that I don't like.
Bite your tongue.
I don't like the dancing monster in the that sings like in Jabba the Hutt's like area that they added. That was stupid. However they had it like before was great. Okay, they didn't need to add that piece, but the rest of the movie is fucking great, fucking brilliant.
You should leave that for the discussion of Return of the Jedi, but yeah.
Well, I'm saying that as because but regardless, I though I am very much a Star Trek fan, I do think that Star Trek is very comparable to the Star Wars universe. But I think that Star Wars has much more written about background than Star. I do think that there are as many Star Trek books out there as there are
No.
Star Wars books.
No.
But that being said, um,
And I know there's Star Trek comics, but I'm pretty sure there's way more Star Wars, and video games as well. There's way more Star Wars video games
I agree there are more Star Wars video games than there are
and
Star Trek
comics.
games, and the Star Trek games that I've checked out kind of suck.
I play now the newest one for the app, mobile app. It looked really interesting and fun, and I couldn't get it to work right. I don't know if it was my phone at the time or what, but it really bummed me out because it looked kind of fun. Got to captain one of the ships that looked kind of like the original Enterprise, and kind of looked interesting, and I wanted to play it, but I played a Star Wars game that was similar to it, and yeah, it wasn't all that great. So yeah, there's some awesome Star Wars games, but not really Star Trek games.
Yeah, I tried playing Star Trek Bridge Commander, and that one just ugh. But
That's the one I'm talking about. Yeah.
yeah. But that being said, I do enjoy the Star Wars universe. I did enjoy Chewbacca. I think the part that as a kid bugged me, or not scared me, but freaked me out was that thing that was like in the water, that grabbed Luke in the first one. That thing kind of freaked me out the first time I saw that. But as far as this one goes, I thought this movie was pretty fucking brilliant. I did not see it in the theaters, nor did Tammy. But so we got it when both got it when it came to like Blu-ray or DVD or whatnot. But I'd heard all the like spoilers online about how it was so fucking great to see Darth Vader and all that and I'm glad that the spoilers didn't affect me at all, because if spoilers bother you, then there's something wrong with you.
Bite me.
I don't pay attention to them, so it doesn't bother me either way because I just don't read them or look at them.
When I'll still watch something that has spoilers, so I know some people like, oh, I can't watch them. They actually don't. I'm definitely not like that, but I hate being spoiled, and it unfortunately with the internet, that's why when Star Wars or something big comes out, I kind of don't pay attention to social media, and I try to go like the first day, or very close to the very first day, and if it's not the first day, I stay away from social media because or anything, because people will fucking spoil it for you. Excuse my French, but yeah, people will ruin things for you. And I do my best not to ruin it once I do see it. At least for a while. Like I said, Andor, I kind of did a little bit here, but again, it's been out for a while, so shame on you for not watching it.
The only movies I can say that I went and saw on their first day out were all the Pirates movies.
Yeah, no, Star Wars for me. But
I went to pirate movies when they were right out. So that was my thing.
I mean, I didn't as much when I was younger, but then we didn't have the internet then. But since the internet came out, it's a lot more of a rush for me, because I don't want to get spoiled. I actually spoiled myself all the time. I'd be watching wrestling and it'd be like a recorded episode through Hulu. And I would look up something about one of the wrestlers, and I'd keep reading instead of reading just the part I wanted to. I'd end up reading and spoil things for myself. And I'm like, oh, now I just spoiled myself what happened, and it happened all the time. And I still didn't stop. So you think I would stop, but I don't. But just saying, I don't like spoilers, but unfortunately, it's a part of life, and especially with the internet, it's a lot worse. And I do want to say one thing, Dave. This might be a first. and hopefully it lasts. But you're right.
I'm right
And
about
there are 381 Star Wars novels. This, of course, doesn't include the comics or video games or anything else, but there are 381 books. So even more than I thought. That's probably adding the new canon books and the old EU together. But it's fine. There are, and this is, I can't believe it, 850 Star Trek books.
Yep.
So
Jeez.
Star Trek wins by a large margin on that. A very large margin, more than twice as many, almost 3 times as many, and that is completely shocking to me, and I'm flabbergasted, and I don't really have anything else
You've
to
been
say about
so
that.
focused on Star Wars that you
As
didn't
being a Star
realize-
Wars fan, I'm just like, what?
Yes, Star Trek has had a
Oh, I
flurry.
know they have. Like I said, my mom was a huge Star Trek fan. I have an uncle that was a Trekkie that was huge into Star. I have another uncle. He was a he was a big Trekkie too, and he liked Star Wars, but we always argued which is better because he always said Star Trek was better. My mom never got into the argument. She never said either. She just loved them both. But so I definitely have big family members that huge Star Trek fans.
Do they get pissed if you say something like Death Star is from Star Trek?
No, they just
I
only
do.
get pissed if you respond to them in Klingon.
Yeah, it's great, especially when we're talking about Star Wars.
But and then burst out. Yep.
No,
Mach
that was Jabba.
Choo.
I was speaking Jabba.
Are you just improvising or are those real words?
The cool
It was
thing
it was
is that
it was shut the fuck up, Dave. Stop talking about Star Wars and R2D2. I mean Star Trek. I used to stop. Oh my god. Now
But
I'm
I
screwing it
also
up.
enjoyed the android in here. I liked the comedy
He was great.
that went throughout there. I like Donnie Yen as a martial artist, so I'm glad that he showed
Oh,
up
Sherrod.
in Wars universe.
Sherrod. Yeah, he was awesome. I loved him. I don't think I mean I might have seen him in other stuff before this, but I didn't recognize him. So it was either a first or just not someone I really knew. It was really awesome to see some Terrace Kasai finally in live action. Terrace Kasai is the martial arts version of Star Wars. I used to be a Terrace Kasai master in an MMORPG that Star Wars had called Star Wars Galaxies many years ago. So it was really great to see see a martial arts, and you definitely could tell he was. I don't think he was a Jedi, but he definitely followed the path to as much as possible. I mean, I think he would have been trained as a Jedi, but he definitely had Jedi potential completely. It was great. I love the banter between him and Baze as well. You know, the Force kept me alive. I kept you alive, you old fool. It was great. It was absolutely great. The whole movie is just the chemistry between everyone, including the droid and everybody. I know we're not favorites, but I'd say the droid was my favorite character. As much as I do love the main characters, but the droid was just awesome, and my love for R2 and C3PO, makes me kind of jealous that they're jealous. Like, what
Like they only got
I thought you were. I thought we were your
yeah,
favorite.
they only got like 2 fucking seconds in the movie. That was
Now,
Oh yeah.
Here's a little question for you. Who is the only character to ever be in all 11 live action movies?
R2D2.
Wrong.
Uh,
C3PO.
Yep.
the
Solo movie had C3PO, but R2 was not there.
oh,
That's true.
oh,
Until the Solo movie, they both had all been in all of them. Until the Solo movie came out.
I did enjoy the movie though, and I did enjoy seeing Darth Vader kick some butt.
Oh my god, that
It's,
scene gave me goosebumps.
and I thought it was kind of cool seeing the plans go from soldier to soldier, and you know, see where it led up to, like
You lost Sammy.
like you can. I've done it before. We've done it before, where we've marathoned the Star Wars, and if you watched Rogue One, and then directly afterwards the Star Wars with the added features that Lucas put in, it is I could care less about the three before this, but if you watched Rogue One to uh, Star Wars to Empire Strikes Back to Return of the Jedi, that is a fucking great marathon.
I marathon all 11, and sometimes I'll do it that way. Other times I'll do it. I'll watch the 3, and I'll watch more of a release.
But yeah,
That is usually when I'm not watching all of them. When I just want to watch the original 3, I'll throw on Rogue One first, just because they did such an awesome job of bringing it right from that movie to the other ones, even though it was made so many 30 plus years later. They did such a great job of making it like a prequel that wasn't a prequel.
so
I agree.
apparently this was based on an idea pitched by Noel 10 years before it entered development, and the film was then made into a different tone and style from the original Star Wars films, uh, uh, mainly because it omitted the customary opening crawl and transitional screen wipes. You know, that reading that you normally see before about and
Yeah, that was another thing that people complain about, that it was the only one that didn't have the scroll, and I kind of agree with that one. It was kind of like, where's the scroll? Where is it? Like, you know, it was
I
just,
I must admit, yeah, that really
I,
felt
I missed
missing.
that. Yeah, it was definitely missing.
so there is that, but we do get in this very beginning piece, we do get. Oh, I guess we lost Tammy for a moment.
I said that about 5 minutes ago.
She'll be back, but I guess we get Mads Mikkelsen. We get him for like all of like what maybe 10 minutes in the very beginning as Jin's father. Let me see what his actual name was.
Galen.
Galen. It was Galen Erso. So him and his wife have evidently become farmers. They've somewhat defected from the empire to start a family, and they have a daughter that her name is Jen, and apparently the empire has now refound them, and they want him to work with them because he evidently knows how to build this Death Star that apparently he did not want to make for them. And at this point in time,
Well,
I
he
know
already started making. He was original architect of the Death Star. One of the original architects of the Death Star, which of course they changed from the EU books right there. If anyone read the books, but that's not the point. It was a Twilight girl that actually drew up the plans of the Death Star for science, not realizing that it was going to be used for what it was used. When she found out, she was devastated. But anyways, so he was the original architect of it, and he realized that it was being used for fear, and well, he didn't know it was actually going to be used not just for fear. But so he left the project and ran, and they found him, and he tried to get out of it, but anyways.
unfortunately he could not, and he tried to say that his wife was dead, but his wife
My
was
condolences, and I love that line. Like Krennic was he was such a you gotta hate him. He's such a prick. I mean, he wasn't powerful like Darth Vader or anything, but he was definitely a politician, a military politician that you couldn't stand.
yeah,
And
and this is the
but
first
he
bad
did
guy
have that
role.
funny. He did have that funny line. When he sees
You're a
her, he goes, "Oh, look, it's Mira back
This
from the
isn't the
dead."
first
You
bad
know,
guy role I've seen him in either. I believe he was
I don't
also
recognize
in
him.
that Steven Spielberg movie not too long ago that had to do with like all kinds of it had to do with a game, and he threw in like Jurassic Park dinosaurs and King Kong and Stephen King and The Shining in it, and trying to think of what the name of it was, but he was the bad guy in that in that particular movie. But yeah, I believe it was it Orson? Yeah, I think it was Orson Krennic, wasn't it? Yeah, Mendelsohn played that dude, and mostly he wore white, which is not your typical like commander like colors.
They like to do that. I didn't even notice that until you just pointed that out. They really like to take
Ready Player
the
One.
whole good guys wear white, the bad guys wear black thing, and just throw it out the window. I mean, there's been many movies that have done that since, but back when I was a kid, a lot of old movies, it was like that. The bad guys typically wore black. I mean, it's funny because I've always considered myself a nice guy and like a good guy, and I love wearing black.
He was the bad
But-
guy in Ready Player One. So
But yeah, it's been one of those things where and like I said, Star Wars just kind of was like, do that, we're out the window. Yeah.
well, in any case,
Of course, to some weird people, I know many people that think the Empire is the good guys, and they will they always argue about Luke destroying the Death Star and killing all those innocent the innocent people like janitors and other stuff that work on the Death Star. And I agree, they did, but how many innocent people died when they blew up Alderaan, an entire planet?
Oh,
And
slow
plus,
down.
he stopped them from blowing up more planets. So yes, did he do a horrible deed? Yes, but for the greater good. So I rest my case. Thank you very much. Maybe Luke Skywalker wasn't
yeah,
the hero to everybody, and I get that. I understand, but still was way
Galen-
better than the Empire.
Galen
That's-
Erso, he wanted to hide his wife and child from being known to still exist at that moment, and unfortunately, his wife
And they
decided
had
to play
a
the hero.
continuously planned. He knew eventually they might catch up to him, the Empire, because he was such a brilliant man. He knew they would probably catch up to him and still want him. And so they had a contingency plan for Jin to escape. Unfortunately, it wasn't a plan for all of them, but they had a plan for Jin to escape and to hide and for someone to pick her up and get her and raise her. So they were well prepared for this, and that was smart, you know. But he knew the Empire. He worked from the inside, you know. We don't know how he got in the Empire in the first place. With the Empire, there was a lot of there wasn't a lot of recruiting, like people saying, "Oh, sign me up." There's a lot of, "You're working for us," you know, and like even the stormtroopers, a lot of the stormtroopers were like that. We see that finally in A Force Awakens, which is one of the things I loved about Force Awakens, is how they showed that the stormtroopers weren't really chosen, or I'm sorry, weren't like signing up to be in the military. They were forced into it. Basically, you know, die or we'll kill your family unless you do this type situations, you know. So sometimes when they could, they
And
they
to show you that they weren't all clones.
and plus they were brainwashed to do what they're doing too. That's why most of them just still carried out orders. But Finn, you know, kind of broke out of it, and that's, you know,
Well, yeah,
just not,
somewhere
so
along the way.
I just love how like a lot of people confuse, like, oh, I thought they were clones. Like, no, you're confusing regular stormtroopers for the prequel
As time went
movies.
on,
They stopped doing clones for regular people, which I don't know why, because the clones were way better shots. way better shots than and they were controlled way better than
if I
regular
remember
people.
correctly, Boba Fett put a stop to the cloning, anyways, right? So
No.
no,
No.
Okay. Well, regardless, here we have young Jin. She runs to a bunker and hides in this bunker that looks like a rock, and they don't find her and they walk off. And then the next thing we see is Forrest Whitaker's character open up the hatch and say, "Hey, I'm rescuing you," you know, basically. But not before.
He was so great in that role. I mean, he's a great actor, but I loved him in the role.
Basically, the mom, she comes out of hiding, and she doesn't want Galen to die, but you know, it kind of diffuses his story about her being dead, and they decide to. She decides to be rebellious, even though Galen is telling her, "No, stop, put the gun down." She decides to. Her thought process was, "Yeah, I'm not gonna die. I'm not gonna stop."
And they die fighting.
Yeah. So, but she was then shot, and
The first person that we liked in the story to get killed. It won't be the last.
And at first, I thought Galen was actually killed, but then later,
No.
later we found out that he was actually still alive.
Well, you found out. I never thought that.
But-
Make that clear.
In any case, so next we see her all grown up in a prison of sorts, waking up. and I
vehicle.
guess she's on a prisoner transport of some sort. And it just so happens that it's on what is it, Java or
What?
is that the I know they're in the Holy City. But what is the name of that holy city?
Jeddah.
Jada, yeah,
Yeah.
Jeddah.
At first, I think she thinks that she's gonna. They're stopping. That's right. There's a stormtrooper saying, "Hey, I thought we had all the prisoners."
Yeah, I thought all the prisoners, and that's when the door got blown out, and because they were stopping, and they're like, "What now? I thought we got all the prisoners." And
I know she's thinking that these are part of the Empire, dude. So when she
no, the Empire already had her. That they were the ones arresting her because I don't even remember what she was being arrested for. They didn't know who she was, obviously, but she was getting arrested for something else, and then she got it was the rebellion, but she didn't know them. She just knew they were coming in, and they came for her, and
she
so
had an
she just
opportunity.
her natural reaction was, I don't want to go with you guys either. So she fights her way out until K2SO knocks the breath out of her and says, "Relax, you are being rescued. Don't fight." That's the first funny line he says. Please do not. You're being rescued. Please don't resist. The voice, the way he does everything he says, it's hilarious. Absolutely love the character and love the voice acting and he was just incredible. And
Well, have you
I
ever
feel
seen the show
I feel a
Resident
little ashamed that I don't know his name, but
Have you ever seen the show Resident Alien?
no, I've heard of it. I
Check
know
it out.
I've
Check
never
it out
seen it.
because the dude who's behind the voice, he is fucking hilarious. At least in the first season, and
That's
somewhat
good
of
to
the
hear. I mean, check it out. I don't really watch much any TV or movies right now, so I haven't even watched Mandalorian season 3. Yes,
Well,
I
if you
have
get a
not watched
chance to
Star
check
Wars.
it out,
So.
I say check it out because I think you'd like it.
Oh, I know. Actually, it looked decent when I first.
It's based on a comic book, so
Is it?
yeah.
How's it possible that you, being such a huge Star Wars fan, haven't seen the third season of The Mandalorian?
I just been super busy, and I've kind of gotten to the point of priorities. And as much as I love Star Wars and always will, sometimes it's time to be an adult.
Baby Yoda pisses on you. Sorry.
But anyways, let us go back into the story. So the rebellion has in fact taken her, and I think she is taken before that woman that we always see in white. That's part of the council of the rebellion.
Mon Mothma.
Mon Mothma. So and she's basically
She became the first high.
She's basically told, "Hey, you know this guy, which is Forrest Whitaker's character. Let me see what his fucking name is in this. I always forget.
Saw Gerrera.
Oh yeah,
Saw
that name.
Gerrera, Dave.
Yep, Saw Gerrera.
That name made me wonder. Sol Guerrera in Spanish means the sun warrior or something like that, and I was wondering how do they have Spanish in a galaxy far away.
They have many different languages, and if you noticed, I know Star Wars always said in a galaxy far away, but they kind of made it a hint that Earth is in the same universe because ET came onto Earth and right, and well, his species is seen in the Senate in the prequel movies. So his species is actually one of the species in the Senate area, and therefore, if his species is there and he was on Earth, therefore Earth is in the same universe as Star Wars.
Huh. Interesting.
Again, super fan. I
I
don't know
never
everything,
noticed
even
that
though my mom used to think I did.
I never
So
noticed that the ET dudes were in the Senate. So
now, of course, it was all done because
Oh
they were
yeah.
actually really good friends, and as well as Steven Spielberg actually owns a small portion of Star Wars, because George Lucas didn't believe that Star Wars was going to be as big as it would. Like, he was just hoping that people would like it, and he loved it, but he didn't. He didn't have as much faith in it as Steven Spielberg did. Steven Spielberg saw how big it was going to be, and they kind of like made a little side bet about it. And he got a portion of I don't know, just the sales or the exact bet was, but it had something to do with owning part of Star Wars. So Steven Spielberg actually had owned part of Star Wars, but they were really good friends, and then that's why. I mean, Star Wars gets, like we already said, is get put into so many movies, but it was put into E.T. because of, with the kids dressing up as Yoda and all this other stuff you saw, in E.T. They were good friends, and then that's why George Lucas added E.T. into Star Wars because of that. But because he did do that, it made all the fans go, "Hey, that means the Earth is in the same universe," and there's all this other stuff because of that. So it's from a fan's point of view, it's freaking awesome to do that. It wasn't the intention of George Lucas, but he does things without thinking that about all the consequences or other people are going to think about it. And he loves the fan base. He really does. He likes messing with the fan base too. Like when people would wear, there was a T-shirt that says "hand shot first" because when he changed it, which I do like the additional things they did to Star Wars. I know you don't, but I do. But the change I didn't like. Okay, and he wore a T-shirt "hand shot first," and of course he's trolling everyone because he's the one who did it. He's the one who did it, and he didn't come out and say that his hand shot first, but he would wear the T-shirt because he likes to troll the fan base. He loves the fan base, but he loves to joke around with the fan base as well.
I was fine with all the extras bits that were put into Star Wars and Empire Strikes Back.
And Return of the Jedi is just amazing what they did. I love them all. I love all the added additions. The change, now that change, no, that was bad. But that's just. I mean, I've heard so many people that don't like it. I'm not saying I don't like the original. I mean, the original. I've seen the original trilogy on VHS with no extended many times. I've seen the extended on VHS as well. I mean, because the extended came out before DVD. I've seen I saw the extended in the theaters. I saw the originals in the theaters. I've seen every versions out there of the movies. So it's. I love it all. I don't like the fact that they changed Han. Like it just doesn't make sense for them to change him. He wasn't a good guy, He wasn't a bad guy either. He was a rogue. He was your more neutral like character, and Harrison Ford played him perfectly, absolutely perfectly. You love him, but he's a scoundrel.
He's
He's
a
not.
scumbag. He's
Not a scumbag. No, he's definitely not a scumbag.
Well, that's what Princess Leia called him.
No, she did not. She never once called him a scumbag. Where did she call him a scumbag?
I
tell
thought
me where.
called him a
Scruffy looking nerf hunter. Where is that? Where did you get scumbag from? I can quote just every line from the 3 original movies. So, yeah.
But regardless,
no scumbag.
they had some
The
commentary going.
scumbag is not even used in Star Wars ever. Scum, the biggest scum of the earth. Ben says, talking about Mos Eisley, Cantina, but he never said scumbag. He just said scum of the earth, and it is not saying Han Solo is scum of the earth, but he was there. So smugglers were definitely on the wrong side of the law. Even after the New Republic took over and the Imperials were no longer in charge, scoundrels and smugglers were still on the other side of the law. But that doesn't mean they didn't help out the good guys, and some of them helped out the bad guys too. If you read the extended universe, so yes, they're definitely not good guys, but they're not bad guys either. Yeah, you're neutral characters if you ever played Dungeons and Dragons.
You gotta love Princess Leia's lines to certain characters, like Governor Tarkin. I should have expected to find you holding Vader's leash. I recognized your foul stench when I was brought on board.
And yes, folks, in case you don't realize it, he's now talking about New Hope. He's not. We're not talking about this movie at the moment. Yeah, Star Wars is so huge. It's hard. It's very hard to stay on topic and not talk about the other movies. And yeah.
But
kind of, yeah.
to the movie, she is then brought to Saw Gerrera. I believe actually he is not brought to Saw Gerrera. They're looking for Saw Gerrera, and they're looking for a way to.
Excuse me for interrupting again, but they know where he is because they say that we know where he is. The problem is they needed her to get close, and then that's when she's like, "You're all rebels." Like we're all rebels, but he's really militant. What's that word? When you meet him, you can tell he's crazy. He thinks everybody and everything is a plan or a trap or is against him, and so everything he does. Yes, he's a rebel, but he goes too far. He goes too far.
He's paranoid.
Then paranoid. That's the word I wanted. He's paranoid, and he just goes too far. So he's too much of a rebel even for the rebellion. So that's why they
there is a pilot that was working.
The pilot escapes and is told to get to him, and he gets tortured. And it's horrible. The guy just he was doing good. Like he realized he was in the wrong. He was with the Empire. He escapes. Escapes the Empire, which is amazing. And then just to get caught by the rebellion where he was going to, and then to be tortured. It's horrible. It's horrible.
Yeah,
but even when Jin shows up, he's like, "It's a trap. You're here to kill me." He believes that she's gonna kill him, that she wants to kill him. All she did was bring them because they wanted to talk to him. That's it. Like he's so lost in his mind that he thinks the girl that he raised as his own till he left at 16 is there to kill him. Which she's upset he left clearly. But she's not there to kill him.
And Andor's
he's just so delusional that he thinks everyone's out to get him.
And Andor's been given a mission that he's told not to tell her about to kill her father.
Oh, Andor, yeah. I mean, that's because they want to find out where the father is because, no, not at that point. At that point, he doesn't even know he's supposed to kill him. He was told
before he goes on the mission. He was
told. They actually show the guy saying it to him. He was told that they were supposed to extract it, which he said to her was true from what he knew. But then, right before when they find out where Galen is at, and he's about to go on the mission, he says, "Forget what you heard in there. It's not an extraction. Take him out." So he didn't know. He did not know right away. When he found out, he didn't say anything. But he did decide not to kill the the father. And so the line when he's like you follow orders when you know you're wrong. Well, he didn't follow orders. He did know they were wrong, and he didn't follow orders. So yes, he did follow orders sometimes, but he didn't that time. So not that it mattered. Galen died anyways, but he's not the one who did it. Sorry to
See, I
play
thought
out there,
that
but
right before they even got on, before they on the
No.
ship, before they even went
No.
to Saw Gerrera, that's
No,
when
no, that was it was before they got on the ship, but it was a ship going to Galen. It was just after they'd already been to Saw Gerrera, so you were just wrong in the timeline there.
That's not how I remember it, but anyways,
I've seen the movie way more than you. Trust me.
probably.
It wouldn't make much sense the way you thought of it because he didn't know. He didn't know, but he didn't seem surprised when they said that. He was just like, okay, and he was gonna kill him. He was gonna straight up kill him, and he's killed a lot of people. Like we already said, he's not exactly a good guy, but yeah,
No, he's not a good guy, but
he's not a bad guy either. He's kind of like the smuggler in the rooms, and unfortunately, the rebellion needed some people like that too because they were fighting people that were horrible, and so
well, in any case, they do ultimate. Well, actually, it's Jin who actually does see this message from her father, and at first, I think I like this part where Forrest Whitaker, Saw Gerrera, he says, "So you're not interested in the cause, and the cause is, it's hard not to be a part of one side or the other. I mean, and she says, well, if you don't pay attention to the stuff that's going on, and you focus on yourself, she'll fucking survive, But
Okay. So, you gave the slight gist of it, but completely, that's not what was said. He says, how can you stand by when all the Empire's flags are flying around everywhere? And she says, if you keep your head down far enough and not look up, it doesn't really matter who's in charge. And yeah, that was just a very important line that basically to her, it doesn't really matter who's in charge. Life is rough and stinks anyways, so who cares who's the people that are in charge? And that was her point of view.
And it was her point of view up until she had not seen that transmission, and it's because of that transmission that she kind of like comes full circle and like starts believing in the cause.
Yeah, I really liked it when KS2 said to her, "Welcome to the rebellion." Like when she finally, it was just like really clear that she was one of them. She definitely became one of them. Just like when when you guys finally watch Andor, you'll see the same thing with him. He didn't start out as part of the rebellion either, and kind of had to get swayed into it.
I do like the introduction that we get of Don Yen's character.
Who's that?
That is the martial
artist. Sherrod.
Yeah, I do like how he's kind of like this prophetic,
blind.
Yeah,
I love it. Yeah, they did like another blind master thing where there's a martial arts expert and he's blind. I love what like Blind Fury. If you guys ever saw the '80s movie Blind Fury, yeah, I love that. I love how they did that. Of course, Miss he kind of used not just his own senses, but the Force to help guide him, which is what Terzai out to do. But yeah, I agree. It was really really friggin' awesome. I loved it. So yeah, his name is Chirrut. I might be pronouncing it slightly off than they did in the movie, but that's the way I've always pronounced it.
I do like the fights that they get caught in the middle of.
Oh yeah, it's great, and now I kind of understand one part where Andor shoots one of the other rebellion. And I mean, he shoots them as he's about to throw a grenade into the Imperials, and then he shoots them, and they fall, and they blows up anyways. Not sure why he shot them, which was the whole reason why they went and later captured them, because like he shot one of our people, which it didn't really make sense for the story.
Okay. Well, I do get why he did that, because he noticed that the dude had the bomb, and I think it like chain reaction.
But he was going to bomb. He was going to bomb the Imperials. Why was he shooting them?
True. If they were really trying to stick, keep their heads down, like he was trying to make her do, because he said, we're not here to make friends. Let's go.
Well, I get that, but why would he shoot? He wasn't there to make friends. They also were there to blend in, and he friggin' shot one of the rebels, which made it completely. And he shot stormtroopers too, so it's like he was just like declaring, okay, you guys are in a war, and everyone's enemies too. It was definitely, as much as I enjoy the movie, that was a bad plot point, and doesn't make sense.
It makes sense to someone who
Okay,
knows
if it makes sense to some people, and you're one of these some people, explain how it makes sense.
because he's not part of the rebellion, and he's not part of the Empire in his own damn heart.
Right, so why would he kill the other rebellion dude? He killed a rebellion that was going to blow up the Imperials. Why would he do that?
I get it.
You say you disagree, but you haven't given a good reason why. I don't care if you can disagree. I'm just asking you to explain why.
Because as soon as it blew up the right people.
Oh my head.
That bomb would not have gone where it did if he had not shot that rebellion dude. So that is
no, that was not true, but okay.
Okay, that bomb didn't blow up a bunch of stormtroopers after he killed him. Okay, I didn't see that.
Yes, it did. Of course, it did.
Okay, then he did it for a reason, to blow up them stormtroopers.
But he was already going to blow up the stormtroopers.
But
that's why he had the grenade in his hand.
I don't know why he shot that dude either. I thought that was. I was just when he shot him, I was just kind of like, well, why'd you shoot him?
Exactly. He was going to throw the grenade and kill the stormtroopers. Instead, Andrew shoots him and blows up the stormtroopers. Like, it doesn't make sense.
Well, in any case, moving forward, they are in fact.
I thought there was something that I missed as to why he shot him, but
no, you didn't miss anything. It was a bad plot point.
Regardless, they are caught, and that is kind of the reason why they were like, well, he still shot one of our dudes, So, and then of course we get the whole transmission and the whole breaking out of the prison while the Death Star is being used on the Holy City, and they end up escaping into the ship without the plans. So basically, the plan is to go and rescue Galen at this moment and steal the plans. Somehow, even though it's a suicide mission, according to there. And now we have Tura with his bodyguard. Dude, I liked his bodyguard, dude. I don't know.
Baze, his best friend Baze, yes. Now I do want to mention one thing. When they first got them and they were going to bring them to Saw Gerrera, they put hoods over their heads. And of course, when they went to put one on the shirts, he
That
goes,
was a
"Are
funny
you kidding me? I'm freaking blind," which I thought was hilarious. Again, there's a lot of great lines in this movie. A lot of funny in the movie. That's why, I mean, yeah, it's a darker movie. There's a lot of comedy in it, and I think all the comedy was in the right places, so it balanced it out a little bit.
I got a
Oh,
question, bro. Why does that guy wear that big contraption on his back? What is that all for?
It's
Oh,
it's a
Baze?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's to
it's a jet.
it's like a battery pack for the machine gun he uses and stuff, type thing. So
Okay, because he's
it
got
might
that
I
on his.
have some ammunition in it or something, or not ammunition, but you know, because
I also assumed it was something similar to a bounty hunter jetpack.
Yeah, you definitely something that you definitely feel like something a bounty hunter might use as well. But yeah, um, yeah, he's just a great character. You know, he's the type that you'd see carrying around a helicopter Gatling gun or something like Arnold Schwarzenegger did in Terminator 2. You know, in my opinion, you know, he seems like that type of character. He's big, strong guy. You know, he was definitely a great character, and he had some funny lines too. Yeah, so. Like I said, most of the people in
And
the
he's
movie.
definitely loyal to his
Oh yeah.
his master.
He always acted like the old fool was just an old fool, but obviously they were best friends
And he acted like the Force was like bullshit.
yeah, he was definitely more of like a Han Solo type character, and Sharon was more like Ben Kenobi, or, you know, type.
But when he started, but later when he actually started
Well, at
doing
that
his
point, he was doing it. Maybe not necessarily he believed it. He was doing it because his friend had died, and it was just like he decided that he was just gonna put his faith into the Force, and he knew he was gonna die, but he wanted to be able to stay alive long enough to take out as many stormtroopers as he possibly could. You know, which
which
is, you know, a heroic way to die. I mean, that whole thing was set up to be a suicide mission, like everything, you know, in the beginning. So, unfortunately, all the people that thought that they might survive it, and I was included in the first one, they said in the beginning it was a suicide mission. So, unfortunately, they were all right. It was, and you know, many
well,
died, and we've never heard the story, but in Return of the Jedi, they said many Bothans died to bring them the plans of the second Death Star, and that was the Emperor allowed it to happen, as he said. So you can imagine if many Bothans died. Of course, many people are going to die on the first time getting the planes. So, you know, I mean, it's war. People are gonna die in wars, and I know in movies you like the main characters to live, and I do too. I get it, but yeah, it's just not one of those stories. Makes an awesome story though.
so they also when they escape that prison, they take the pilot with them when they go on this mission to get to rescue Galen. Although once they get to where the research base is, um, it's our Rogue One leader and the pilot who go out first,
I mean, it was neat how they brought Rogue One into canon. I mean, completely different than the EU, but it was neat the way they did it. It was really neat the way they did it. Rogue One is definitely. I mean, Rogue One. If people know that that's a very popular, very big branch of the rebellion, Rogue One, and it became very, very famous. There's many, 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 many books that are written just on the Rogue One squadron and people that are in Rogue One. Han and Leia's kids, twins were part of Rogue One. Luke Skywalker is part of Rogue One at times. There's been a lot of famous Star Wars characters in Rogue One, Jedis as well as non-Jedis. So, just an interesting fact there.
Yeah, from what I remember, Rogue One was definitely a part of Star
There was video games too, Rogue One video games and stuff as well. So
Cool.
I mean, everyone remembers like Red Leader, Blue Leader, Green Leader, stuff like that. But Rogue One was huge.
Well, Rook and Andor ended up going and getting a vantage point of the area and situation of where everybody was, and it was the android that had noticed that he had the Andor had his gun in sniper mode. And that and she
Actually, yeah. Well,
told to
Church
stay
said
back.
something first. Church said, he has a feel of someone who's about to murder someone else, and that's when K2SO said, his gun was in sniper mode. So it was Church first, and then K2SO that finished the statement, and yeah.
And that's what made her go for the research base. And in fact, but we have Rennick and his bodyguard stormtrooper show up, and
yes, it's Director Krennic.
Yeah, Krennic, he congratulates Gaelic on completing the Death Star, because
Galen.
Yeah, I said Galen.
You said Gaelic.
And he congratulates him on completing it. And I guess in the whole transmission, he actually said that for many years he had prolonged that he had actually finished the Death Star. Years back.
Yeah. He made himself invaluable, so that he couldn't be replaced. So he could carry out his plans to make that small flaw in the Death Star, which we all know Luke used to destroy the original Death Star.
Yeah. And I do believe that was a strong point of the whole Empire side of things, while they were making this monstrous planet that could kill planets.
Master ship that could kill planets.
Yeah, basically.
The planet one was in the sequel trilogy.
But in the whole attitude of things, Jin started to take out stormtroopers. Andor was in fact had Galen in his sights, but he let things play out.
Yeah, he didn't shoot him. Now he could have shot Krennic. I don't know why he didn't. That's what I was thinking at the time. Like, why didn't you shoot Krennic?
Meanwhile, the rebellion had sent out their TIE fighters.
Yeah, Mon Mothma decided, you know what? I don't care if everyone agrees here or not. We're gonna go help them, and so she was smart. She was great. She was a great leader, and it was sad when she died in the books.
she did have a moment where she actually went in front of a lot
Yeah,
of the
because
people.
she believed her, and she knew that they needed to act, but their Senate. I mean, they didn't actually have an official Senate, but that was like their Senate. Their council were too afraid to act then, or too afraid to do this. And she saw how important it was, and she knew. She, like I said, she was a great leader. She became the chancellor of the new republic after the empire got wiped out, because she was such a great leader. But that's why she had everyone follow. And if you look in the ships that are in that battle, the Ghost from the CGI cartoon Rebels is in that battle. The live action version of that ship is in that battle. The Ghost.
Okay,
Yeah.
I have
So
not seen Rebels yet, so
what is wrong with you?
just
You're missing such an awesome part of the story.
sorry, haven't had the moment to buy it.
You've
yet.
had many a moments, you just haven't done it.
It's
You
not on
buy all kinds
my
of crap
to-do
and
lists because
watch all kinds of crap.
it is number one a cartoon. It is not live action.
It's fucking awesome though. So is in the Clone Wars.
I think that's partially why I didn't get
And
into
I agree. The
the
first time I
Clone
watched
Wars movie.
Clone Wars, I watched like an episode, and I was like, "Yeah, I can't do this," and I shut it off. And later, I ended up watching it and loving it. But
I just didn't like the.
I had to get into the mood, and so I agree with you. I understand. Rebels I liked from the beginning, even though it was definitely more cartoonish than Clone Wars was. But they're both great shows, so I agree with you. And I couldn't stand Ahsoka Tano first time I met her. Most people couldn't. She was actually designed for everyone not to like her, and also designed for everyone to fall in love with her and be one of their favorite characters. And it worked. Dave Filoni was a fucking master. It worked perfectly
I'll be
because
honest.
that's what happened.
Easier for
Everyone
me.
hated her, and she became one of the most beloved characters.
I'll be honest. It was easier for me to watch animation when I was younger. And even though I get into Japanese animation and
Oh,
uh,
this is so much
animated
better.
cartoons, if I was like maybe 20 years younger, um, might get into.
I get it, dude. I'm older than you, but I get it. But it's there now. Not saying everything they do cartoon is good, because we have this TV show Resistance, and yeah, it lasted one season, and that was it. It was planned for way more, but even little kids, little tiny kids, didn't like it. So yeah, I couldn't get past like 2 episodes. I was just like, this is just shit. This is horrible, and everyone was talking about how bad it was. So yeah, and I don't even think I finished the first one season. So yeah, it was horrible, and it was made for like 5-year-olds or whatever, you know. But not even 5-year-olds could get into it.
Well, let's get back to the movie. We are in the so it's not either what technically Jin started to do some killing, but it wasn't until this squadron arrived and started shooting is when when
Welcome
things
to the rebellion.
yeah.
Oh, we missed my favorite line. I guess we'll just do it afterwards.
But we do get the squadron arriving. They're starting to shoot. Rennick is starting to bail.
Krennic.
That's what I said. Rennick.
No, you said Rennick. It's
I
Krennic with a K.
Oh, Krennic. Krennic is starting to bail with his body guards because he's whenever action seems to happen, he's kind of a wuss. At least
He is, but he does chase Jin down at the
yeah,
end.
and
And so
he's not
he's
exactly
I mean he's a leader. He acts
he's
just
not
like a leader
exactly
does.
liked by Darth Vader either.
Well, I mean, I love that scene with Darth Vader. Don't let your aspirations choke you. As he's force choking him. There's such great lines, and I love that they have Vader even give like a funny line, but in a Darth Vader like way that he's choking him. So it's
I know he
funny,
didn't even
not
have to
funny
touch
type,
him.
huh?
He didn't even have to touch him, man. It was
He
like,
was force choking him. If you notice, his fingers
yeah,
were crushing because they want to show that he was doing something. Like
right. He wasn't
honestly,
physically
Darth Vader
touching
would
him.
actually need to pull his fingers together like that, but they like to show what he's doing, which I get.
Yeah, he
So
didn't have to like physically touch him. He was just
yeah,
like,
he was force choking him like he did in New Hope and to that governor, that was there to say shit about the force and Vader and you know and Tarkin had to tell him to stop. That used to
Yeah.
confuse me. I'm like, how can Tarkin tell Vader what to do? Like Vader's second in command, right? But from a military standpoint, Tarkin was above Vader. And right at that moment, they were on a military ship, so therefore he was higher ranked than Vader on the ship. But in the
I think
Empire
if
as a
Tarkin
whole,
and
in the Empire as a whole,
Vader,
Darth Vader was second to Palpatine. So, but he wasn't military. So, yeah, that confused me when I was younger. I had to learn more about it. But yeah, so I'm like, how the hell is Tarkin ahead of Vader? Because he was Grand Moff Tarkin, which is the highest
which is
rank
funny
you
because
can get in the
Princess
military.
Leia said to Tarkin about the leash that Vader has on him.
Oh yeah,
It's more like he had a leash on Vader.
exactly.
But
And he did because Vader was choking the dude, and he's like, okay, stop now. And Vader listened to him.
okay,
which
Vader,
is-
heal, boy, heal.
What the?
and
But
Anakin never even listened to Obi-Wan, so
but
Yeah.
in any case, we have an explosion that happens that knocks Jin's father, Galen, out, or at least for a moment. And she goes and runs to him,
why
and
does it knock you out?
well, it knocked him out for a moment because he didn't. He
Oh
was.
yeah, I thought he was dead. I thought he was dead there.
I
So
thought he
yeah,
was dead at
definitely.
first too, but
Yeah,
she went.
that's the point where I thought Galen died. Was
But
there?
they have to have him have like a dying word moment. So,
Oh, I
so
know. It was great. It was great. It was definitely cool the way they did it. I loved it. It's definitely awesome.
and of course she didn't get the plans again, but I think they ended up following Krennic to his base wherever he was, in order to get these the Death Star plans, which how they fucking knew where the plans were I don't even know, but they
Because Galen said it in his message that Saw Gerrera and Jin was watching,
okay so
and she figured out of which one it was hidden under,
yeah,
which
because
is the
he called
resonating stardust. She goes, that's it. He's like, he looks and goes, because that's me. Because he called her Stardust, so that was her nickname. So that's where he hid it. I don't know. He didn't say it in the transmission for some reason. I guess for more security, just in case. But he knew that she would know, that Stardust was it because that was his code for her.
So
So
they decided to storm this base and utilize their forces that they had on the ground. Um, and they did so effectively at first. You know,
oh yeah,
they
I mean it was a great fucking battle. But every time they I mean I joke about Stormtroopers missing a lot too, but they killed a lot of freaking rebels in this movie. A lot of rebels. I'm not saying no, a lot of Stormtroopers died too, but a lot of rebels were dying, and maybe sometimes with lucky hits, but not all of them.
I mean, when they blew up those things all the way around, Krennic was like, "Are you blind? Get your men over there!" You know.
Yeah,
But
yeah. It was really. I love the explosions. I mean, there was some great. It was a war movie. It was 100% war movie, but in Star Wars style. You know, I'm not a big fan of war movies, but it's Star
uh,
Wars, so.
uh, uh, actually, now that you say that, yeah, throughout the movie, I must say there was kind of something that felt like, how do I word that in English? Like,
military presence.
yeah, yeah, like there was a bit too much of that and not enough of some other things we usually
Oh,
see in Star
I
Wars.
totally
Like,
disagree. I mean that's what this movie was about. It should have been a war movie because that's what it was about.
mm,
I think that they did a perfect job, but
yeah, but okay, yeah, they did do what they were supposed to do, I guess, but I missed the usual stuff that makes Star Wars, if you see
well
what
then
I mean.
you might not want to watch Andor because it's probably the least Star Wars thing I've ever watched, and I loved it. I enjoyed it, but there was definitely parts where you could barely tell it was Star Wars.
Um, yeah, I get it.
I enjoyed it, but again, because the great thing about Star Wars, it's an entire universe. I love Jedi, I love Sith, but you could tell many stories without ever having anything to do with the Force, good or bad. Many stories, you know. As much as I love it, and they did have a little bit in here with Shura, you know, but yeah, I get it. I mean, I love
Yeah, there
Jedi
was more
stories
of
and
a
Sith stories,
military force
and
here
so
than there were characters from the Star Wars universe as part of this
yes, I mean
initial
it's a universe. It's
I mean,
not.
there was that short little creature that was part of their. I forget what he is, but you saw him amongst the fighters there. He was a Star Wars character. I don't know where he was from, but he had a
Uh,
mouth that looked like it was stitched shut or some shit like that. Um, and
uh,
he was a short little dude, but
uh,
um,
Speaking of creatures, did anyone else think when the pilot was sent to that creature for interrogation, what was its name?
uh, I'm not sure.
Something
But
starting with B.
War Gullet.
Yeah, yeah, that when that creature appeared, I was like, "Wow, this looks as if Jabba the Hutt begged the xenomorph."
That thing looked like it. They almost looked like an octopus.
Yeah, it did. It was definitely
But the little
now
creature that
as
Dave
far
was
as
talking
I've
about,
ever read in Star Wars novels,
kind of a
that's a
Lovecraft.
new creature. Lots of times they'll use creatures that I've already read about before, and I'll like, oh, that's a whatever, and I'll recognize it. But that one I don't recognize. Again, I haven't read all the books, so it might be something I haven't read yet. But as far as I know, that was not something that had been written yet. That was an original creature. Um, but
well, that little one that David was talking about when they were fighting, I remember an instant with that little one that he's talking about going, ah, his mouth just like wide open. He's going, ah.
I can't think of who you guys are talking about. It's bugging me
He
now.
looks like a little. He's got like a mouth almost like a frog or an alligator or whatever. When he goes, his whole mouth opens like, and he's really short. Like he's like a little.
I mean, like I know what you're talking about, but I just can't picture enough to figure out which species it is.
Oh,
If I
okay.
even
'Cause
know, I mean, I don't know all the species and stuff. I know a few different species.
I remember one of the points he was like by a wall or something, and he turned and went, ah!
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I know enough what you're talking about, but not enough to figure out what exactly it is.
I'm trying to see if I might see maybe it was Tibic, or trying to see if I see anyone that might. Oh, Pow, that was his name. I played by Derek Arnold. Not sure if you can see this at all. He looks like that.
Yeah, I think that's
Yeah.
him.
I guess his name was Pow. But Pow. He also played in Solo, a Star Wars story. So,
Yeah, same character.
So, yeah, we have that creature amongst the soldiers, but there were no other creatures than him, at least on the ground force. But we get Andor
Aliens.
and Jin and the android infiltrating the inside of the place, and the android is it got something similar to like R2D2, where he can like plug in and see what all is going on, and right before they gotta figure out how to plug in a source to the master circuit that's on the base. So they're I believe Andor is back and forth with the pilot, and he's like screaming at him, somehow you got to figure out a fucking way, and he's complaining the whole time.
They don't swear.
But there is a moment I like here where Jin actually gives him the android a gun, and is like he wanted the gun to begin with, right?
Yeah.
And he's like, you know what? You always amaze me.
Yeah. It was kind of a hard time to accept him. They kind of accepted each other. They kind of were at odds the entire time when they first met, all the way up until that point where they kind of acknowledged, maybe not friends, but they acknowledged each other. It was a great moment. It was
Well,
definitely a good moment.
the android was fucking great. I mean,
Oh, he's not my favorite character.
he knew how to shoot, and shoot well. He did. And he was great until that last moment when he said, "I've got to shut the doors." I
was so sad when he died, but yeah.
Yeah, it was sad when he died. I felt something for that android. He had character.
Yeah.
But
great character.
Meanwhile, they had to go and get these plans, which are on this like big ass like circuitry thing with a handle, which evidently at first they had to maneuver this like control thing that was behind a glass, and how to maneuver it up to find the Stardust file, which was lit up with a green light, and the way he had to maneuver it over, up, and over, and at that last moment, they had to break the glass, jump out and onto the fucking tower that circuit was in, and halfway up is when Krennic decided to show up and start shooting with his soldiers that he brought, his stormtroopers that he brought with, and ends up shooting Andor off, but she is able to escape and get up.
This is, of course, where a lot of people might have thought that he died, including her.
Yeah. And then she's up on this platform where it looks like a bridge that has a launch pad. It's where the satellite sits with a control panel, and she tries to pull. I think she pulls the controller down, but then it says it needs to realign the antenna, which the antenna is around a curve and down a little bit of a walkway bridge. So she runs across that thing. Meanwhile, there are some TIE fighters that are flying around, and they're starting to shoot at her while she's doing this. She finally gets the antenna realigned, starts to go across the bridge, and then
the bridge starts, well, before she starts going across the bridge, we see a TIE fighter shoot at her, and that's when she starts running across the bridge. And then, of course, the bridge falls, and she almost falls off, and she's hanging a bit. Then she finally pulls herself back up. The bridge is half destroyed, and then she gets back to be able to send it. And that's when Krennic shows back up, and she says, "You've lost." And he's like, "There's still a shield. You'll never get through. The only thing I've lost is some time." And
to be fairly honest, this scene kind of reminds me of a scene in Star Trek Generations.
But anyway, so he says, that he's the only thing he's lost is some time, and that she's lost, and he's about to shoot her, and then all of a sudden he gets shot, and we find out Andor was not killed yet, and he came to her rescue and to and shoot him. And then they had the scene between them where they're just kind of talking, and then she looks back at Krennic, and she just wants to go just make sure he's dead, kill him, and for all that he's done to her and her family and everything, and she blames him, and he rightfully so. And Andrew's just like, leave it, because I guess he knows he killed him or something. I don't know. Yeah. So definitely a little bit strange there. But now I was expecting. I really thought when they were sitting together that he was going to kiss her.
I did have to say a little bit before all this was going on, like right about when they were trying to figure out how to get a signal out. The rebellion shows up with Admiral Akbar, and Krennic realizes this and decides to close the gate, which is like this force field around the planet.
It is a force field around the planet. Some of our squadron is able to get through though before that closes. The squadrons,
I know I was just making a joke. I said squab run. Squab run. I didn't even notice.
I forgot that you knew how to speak squab.
Yeah, he's the forever squab. Of course he does.
Okay, yeah, I guess.
But we have the squadrons get through. and so, that's why we have some of the ground soldiers period, because some they're actually, because while they're down there, all the walkers show up. The Empire walkers start shooting them as they're going through the forest, and it's the squadron that starts to shoot those things down. And we also get the moment where the transmission gets through, and Admiral Akbar is like, good luck, Squadron One, or
Rogue One.
Rogue One.
But yeah, he's the one that figured out the plan to get rid of the shield too. He's like, I got a plan, and the plan worked beautifully. I mean, he basically made their own ships crash into it.
And that was like a triple decker one. Like all three of them all three of them Star Destroyers were fucking like destroyed,
smashed into each other, and it was awesome. Awesome scene. I mean, we lost one small rebel ship, which is unfortunate, but they took out 3 friggin' Star Destroyers. So it was definitely amazing. And if you ever read this, Admiral Akbar was actually a slave to Grand Admiral Tarkin, and that's where he learned how to fight. Where he learned all his drilling tactics was from Tarkin, because Tarkin was brilliant.
Admiral Akbar was like a good focal point of that whole road.
Oh, I know, but I'm saying that's the little backstory to Akbar. He was a slave, and he got away from the Empire and became an admiral in the rebellion. But before that, like I said, he was a slave in the Empire, to Tarkin. But he watched everything Tarkin did, and he learned everything Tarkin knew, and that's why he became such a tactical genius, because he had followed Tarkin. The only way he could have been any better is if he had learned from Thrawn.
Well, after that, after getting the transmission and wishing them well, he got his ass out of there because he knew what was
because he knew it was a trap.
Yeah, I did know.
He knew that it was no moon. Quick, his ass is getting here.
And rest in peace, sir. I'm sorry about the final trap. He passed away. If anyone didn't know, he passed away.
Yeah, the Death Star is in fact my ass crack, so just so you know. But in any case,
we are not talking about your moon, your ass crack. Crack killed. Crack killed.
But in fact, Vader. Actually, it's Tarkin who shows up with the Death Star, and pretty much destroys that entire planet. And we've got Andor and Jin down on the surface. They have their deep impact moment. The reason why I say deep impact, have you ever heard of the movie Deep Impact?
Yep.
Okay, well, there's a moment where a daughter and father share a beach scene where there's a massive wave about to take over their butts because of natural disasters. Well, this is their deep impact moment. That's what I call it. Where they just accept their fates. Even through the whole thing. I mean, they're screwed. They're fucked. And that is pretty much what we get there. But then we get this whole fight scene with Vader as you see the soldiers are once they receive the message on this like huge rebellion ship. Vader pretty much destroys the inside of that ship, and all the soldiers. I mean, they are trying to get that message forward. They are able to get it to an escape ship that escapes with Leia on board, and
Well, the ship that escapes is the very first ship that we see in the beginning of A New Hope and in the beginning of Star Wars. It's the ship that Vader is chasing it down. So, like I said, this is complete. That is almost a minute for minute continuation or a prequel of, and then leads into like a continuation, like A New Hope continues the story. Even though it was written 30 years before. So it was amazing how they did it. It was the exact Council's ship that escaped Vader, and so
it's that ending of Rogue One, that I remember everyone talking about.
It was fucking. I loved the movie, but that was hands down the best scene in the entire movie, and some of the best scenes in all of Star Wars. And I was watching. I was like, you know what? Who the hell played Star Wars? Who the hell played Darth Vader in this one? Because I didn't think it was Hayden Christensen. And I looked it up, and no, it wasn't Hayden Christensen. They did not get him for the part, and they said the name of the guy. He's a stunt guy, actually. And he brought Darth Vader so in life. I mean, I literally had literal goosebumps up and down both my arms watching that scene in the theaters. I was like, oh my god, it was so
Darth
awesome.
Vader
was
was in fact played by Daniel Napras.
I know that. I already said I looked it up.
So,
and then they said there was a little thing that says, read about all the people that played Darth Vader, and then you look into it, and it only says his name. So it was fake news, fake fucking link. I hate that.
but yeah, I love the scenes with Darth Vader. I mean, he comes in nasty. I mean, on that ship, he is angry as fuck.
Well, no, I mean, that's the secret. Just like the Hulk secret is, they're always angry.
But he's. But when the ship gets away, he's standing there like, fuck, they escaped my ass, but you can tell he's not going to stop.
Oh no! Like I said, you can watch this movie and you get awesome joy from it. But if you watch New Hope, and even if you were like young and you end up watching this first before you ever see New Hope, it leads right into A New Hope. It perfectly leads into it, which is great. It's I really enjoy it. That's why it's tough, because for me, there's been a clear way the way I like to watch the movies. Either like for the first time, for people who's never seen Star Wars, I always like to show them the 4, 5, 6 first, then 1, 2, 3. But this kind of changes things. Like maybe I could throw in Rogue One first, and then 4, 5, 6. Because it fits in there perfectly. Even though like the release date, it's way after, and of course Solo was after that, so Solo would be in there around after that time, but before the sequels. If you did a release date, it kind of messes up things. So even when I do kind of release date, it kind of doesn't fit. So it kind of fits before 4, 5, and 6 now, being the first one you should watch in the series, in a way. So it's interesting the way they did it, and they did such a great job telling the story. And it is a unique Star Wars story, very unique Star Wars story, but it also led perfectly into A New Hope as well. So brilliant job, absolutely brilliant.
I think at this point in time we're about ready to go into production, as we've talked about many of the different characters and the things that went on and stuff like that over time, and some of the various scenes. So what did Tammy? We haven't heard from you in a while. Are you still here?
At the moment.
Did you want to say something about the production of this movie?
I thought it was pretty cool. The effects were good and all that, and all the different costumes and everything, and the creatures, and I, and I really liked the droid. So
Okay. What about you, Boris? What did you think about the production?
Actually, I think the production was great. It was probably the best aspect of the movie. I must say it was really impressive how they did these CGI characters and made them look so realistic, like Leia and Tarkin. And I assume Mon Mothma was CGI'd too, right?
No,
No.
No.
it was a different actress. They just got an actress that looked very close to the original actress, and yeah, she actually plays Mon Mothma in the Andor series as well. So she
Oh.
reprises the role. But yeah, she's just she looks so much like the original one that they did a great job casting.
Uh, okay, yeah, that's impressive too. And
Very impressive.
of course, it's a Star Wars movie, so of course the production has to be great. You cannot complain about anything in Star Wars when it comes to production.
I do think that when it came
Exactly.
to Gold Leader, was it? I do think that they used a moment from the original Star Wars to have him say, because he had died. I think the guy who played him had died, and he looked exactly like the Gold Leader in the original Star Wars movie that had died at the end there while they were trying to go for that core. But that being said, what about you, Kroll? What did you think about the production?
Well, it's Disney and Star Wars. I mean, as I've said a million times, Disney doesn't joke around with things, and Star Wars has led everything everything into the future. So it's obviously top notch. I mean, the explosions, everything. I mean, it's everything you expect from Star Wars and Disney. It doesn't disappoint at all there. And like I said, the CGI, I think it's been some of the best CGI I've ever seen for anything. Besides Green Lantern, I usually don't have an issue with CGI. That one was definitely over the top, but that's a different discussion. Yeah, for this one, it was incredible. It was awesome. Uh, everything they did, I mean, like it's always been pointing out, the creatures and everything. The aliens, I'll call them, creatures. I think of the ones that the non-intelligent beings. Like the war gullet was a creature, but the aliens and the creatures were incredible. But Star Wars, and they always do incredible things for aliens and creatures and stuff. And they didn't disappoint this one. Although I think Akbar didn't quite look right. I think it was a little too light. I think he should have been a little darker and closer to the original look on Akbar. I mean, you could tell who he was, but I think the color was definitely off, and it's because originally
Actually, yes, I must say, throughout the movie, since the colors were different, I noticed that too. It actually had me wondering if that was Akbar or someone else of his species.
yeah. So they kind of, I think they should have not done CGI for Akbar, and I think they should have just done the way they originally did Akbar, and I think that would have been way better, at least for that character. Um, so maybe slight overuse on CGI in that one aspect, but I'm not gonna take away points for that one little thing on there. But I just think that it would have been a little slightly better if they had made the Akbar look more like Akbar. I mean, I could tell it was Akbar, but he was definitely lighter than he should have been. It's not the first time they've done that. They kind of did that with Yoda, but they did a better job with Yoda. I was actually watching how they made the prequels and how they did Yoda, and they did a better job with Yoda because they were concerned about it. So whoever did this didn't get the same people that they had got on the prequels. So they didn't pay attention to that detail as much as they did with the prequels. So yeah, just wanted to point that out. As much as I have glowing respect for it, there was a flaw. So I don't always
Okay.
rave about everything on Star
I
Wars.
guess I didn't
And this
notice
flaw
that.
points out.
I guess I didn't notice that flaw. I guess I'll have to go back and like look at the coloring. And
Well, yeah, well, I mean, like Boris said, he wasn't even sure it was Akbar, and I think I might have had the same feeling the first time I saw it. Like I said, I've seen it so many times now; it's hard to remember, but I might have had that same feeling of, is this Akbar? I think I kind of remember I might have. So, yeah, it's definitely because there's plenty of Mon calories. That's what yeah, that's what Akbar is a Mon Calamari. So yeah, there are plenty of those around, and some they tend to get high positions in government. So in the race, so to see another one that might reach almost as high as Akbar wouldn't be that far fetched. So yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I got to say about production.
Okay. I thought the production was pretty darn good. I didn't see as much as you guys. Maybe I haven't paid attention to the details as much. But I did like the different areas that they showed us where they needed to go. I thought they looked like they needed to do. I thought that the Vader moments were definitely impressive. I think that uh, uh, as far as um, uh, the way the android looks, I thought that was interesting. Um, Especially since it's kind of like a newer robot, to at least at this moment, to the Star Wars universe that we had not seen before. I mean, we did see is like one of the androids that seems to show up besides R2 is that red unit, that you see in Star Wars, that kind of like blows up, but they always seem to randomly have that red unit like show up too. In the background, there were definitely some impressive moves that were done by some of the various characters. I even liked Jin's like moves. She had some moves that she taught Andor that she could very much like fight on her own, and vice versa. And I like that we had kind of get the blind swordsman aspect in this whole thing too. With the, I do like the choreography of the fight scenes. From time to time, and the way things were placed, and some of those aspects. But yeah, production overall, I love that moment where all those TIE fighters were coming out of that spaceship towards the rebellion. You don't normally see that many TIE fighters in the original trilogy. You see them in a Triforce thing, and you see them a lot in Empire Strikes Back. but not to this extent where they're coming out like in a swarm, you know. So I do like that aspect of the fight, and that Death Star, not the Death Star, the destroyers, the Star Destroyers, when they crashed into each other. That was phenomenal. I don't think we quite have seen a Star Destroyer destructive force of nature.
Destroyed like that?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, indeed. Indeed.
But in any case, going into the music, I think it's John Williams who does the music again.
Oh yeah, he does all of them.
And I don't think it's the typical Star Wars theme that we hear afterwards, is it? Or because you normally hear you know, at the end normally, or
Yes. No, it's not that. No.
so. Which is kind of like something to say. I mean, the fact that this is like a standalone movie and it is its own thing, but
They didn't do the crawl and they didn't do the music.
My biggest thing is yes, the credit rolling thing. They should
Crawl. It's called the crawl.
The crawling words and whatnot. They should have kept to.
I agree with you there, Dave. I agree with you there.
Yeah.
If I could say anything bad about the movie, that's what I would say. They did it wrong there, but
yes, I agree.
in any case, I guess I also think that I wish that Cassian and Jin could have actually survived in some way, shape, or form. I wish that they could have.
Yeah, in all honesty, I don't see why they couldn't.
Because they didn't want to make that kind of movie.
No, they
They
didn't.
wanted to appeal
But I do
to
in
the
some
other
way
people
wish
that
they
that like sometimes things not having a happy ending, like Mo, and they did, and even people that like happy endings accepted it and really enjoyed it, like me. So I think artistically and cinematically, it was great. It was great for storytelling. Again, I didn't want them to die, and I was sad at first, but you know, I kind of look back on it and realized why they did it, and it made sense for the story, and it made it awesome.
Well,
Yeah.
well, what exactly would have been less good in the story if they had survived?
It would have turned it into a more another feel good win when it wasn't the important thing was about getting the plans to the rebellion, which led to the win against the original Death Star. That was the win. Okay, we didn't need to have a small battle win here. The win here was getting the plans through. That was the mission. Them surviving wasn't the mission. It wasn't important if they survived or not. And I think it would have lessened it if they had survived, as much as I wanted them to survive too. It just made it better storytelling.
There has to, in order for there to be a successful win in war, there has to be sacrifices.
Exactly. There's always war and sacrifices, and they all said it was, and you've heard it many times, like this is a suicide mission, and then they come out alive, or a few people will die, but most of them will come out alive, or the main character will come out alive, or someone will always survive when they say it's a suicide mission. You expect it, and that's why they didn't want to do that, because it's expected for people to survive. People expect for our heroes to survive. And they didn't want to do the same thing that every other movie, TV show, and everything else does and story does, and keeping them alive.
sacrifice
They,
themselves.
they were heroes that died in the war, just like heroes died in World War One and World War Two and other wars. There were heroes that died in every war. Um, you know, just because someone's a hero doesn't mean they live.
Yeah.
That's why the
Uh,
Purple Heart was created in the U.S. And they're usually given to family members of the people that receive it. You know, if there's a Purple Heart, it means that they received it from a relative. You know, for a relative that died in the in the um in the service
Either that
of the
or
country.
survived under extenuating servitude.
Well, the Purple Heart actually can be given as well to a survivor because my grandfather actually had one and it was actually his. But for most of the part time, it's given to people that have died, given to family members. But yeah, my grandfather had a Purple Heart from World War II.
I remember a politician by the name of John Kerry who got a Purple Heart for whatever he did,
Yeah, I remember
and
John Kerry.
there were cartoons that made fun of him because some of the soldiers who were part of his platoon and under his command were starting to come out and speak up against him that he wasn't that great, and so they made fun of him that he got his Purple Heart, and yet people died because of it or whatever. So
Well,
uh,
honestly, it's
by the
war,
way,
and
uh, uh,
I disagree with war. But when you go to war, people are gonna die.
by the way, guys, just I need to say something in case anyone has just seen me laughing. It was because I read some message on Facebook where someone said something funny. I wasn't laughing at the
No,
war
he just
stuff.
likes laughing. He's like laughing about people dying, other people dying. Don't let him fool you.
If I was laughing about that, I would have said it loudly and clearly. But no, I was laughing at someone here in the group where we
You
are
evil son of a
planning.
bitch, you.
So sorry, what did you say?
I said, you evil son of a bitch, you.
In this
always,
Facebook group where
I
we are
kid.
planning. Fair enough.
you're planning the May Day.
Yes, and in that group, someone
So
said some meme.
is that
So,
on May 5th, Cinco de Mayo?
Cinco de Mayo. That's the 5th of May, I think.
That's
That's
what I
on
just asked you.
Mexican.
Is it on May 5th?
No, May Day is May the 1st. The
Oh,
1st of May. It's tomorrow.
okay.
Yeah, it seems to be a big thing over in his country, whereas our
So
country.
it's actually Beltane in my religion. So it's a major Sabbath in Wiccan and pagan religion. Yeah,
Yeah, the
I
point
missed
of it.
I missed it by 36 minutes. I was born at 12:36 May 2nd. So I missed it by 36 minutes.
So I think we are now to our favorite people, our favorite characters, and or favorite scenes. So Crow, if you could choose a favorite character or characters or favorite scenes, what would they be?
K2SO, favorite character, hands down. Darth Vader at the end, killing all the rebels. As much as I root for the good guys and don't want the bad guys to win. That scene was just so literally bone chilling and goosebumps I had first time watching it and several times after. I ain't this time, but I've seen it enough. But it's still the scene still amazed me. Still such an awesome scene, awesome show of power that he has. Just throwing people around, force choking them, weaving his lightsaber um, perfectly. I read something where they were saying Darth Vader was at the height of his power. I disagree with that statement. He was at his height of his power before he got into the suit when Obi-Wan beat him. Um, uh, the suit took away a lot of his power, actually. like he couldn't do force lightning. Like he would have been able to do force lightning easily, but because he was in that
Well,
suit,
yeah, he had to be
it would have
restrained.
it would have that's why Palpatine took him out in Return of the Jedi because of the lightning in his suit. That's what killed him when he picked up Palpatine. Um, so, um, so that's why he couldn't use. But if he had never gotten put into the suit, Darth Vader would have been even more, even stronger than he was. I mean, so just imagine how strong he is. Imagine him probably being 10 times stronger. So, yeah,
Yeah,
he definitely would have taken out Palpatine and become the leader at some point. Um, as the Sith way, that's the Sith way. So, um, anyways, that's there's a lot of great scenes. So many, like you've mentioned, some of the battles and things blowing up and the Star Destroyers coming down and shit, and they're all great, all awesome scenes, some one-liners. Oh, I have to mention a couple one-liners while I'm here, because we didn't get to them. My favorite line, one of my favorite lines is they're telling K2SO to stay at the ship, and she goes half the people there want to reprogram, the other half want to destroy you. And he's like, oh, I didn't know you care about my well-being. And she's like, I don't, but I'm afraid they're gonna miss you and hit me. And of course she walks away. And he goes, that doesn't sound so bad. So a little bit of banter between the two, and he's a droid, but he has such an awesome personality. Even, I mean, us droids have great personality. R2, C3PO, even BB-8. But he actually talks like you can understand him, kind of like C3PO, but he's hilarious, like R2. So he's kind of like R2 and C3PO all rolled into one, and different character too. So he's just a great droid, great character. Really love him, really, really, really love him, and that the actor, kudos, he really brought him to life, and the animators really brought the character to life, and I typically like either the main hero, usually is my typical, sometimes the villain, if the heroes aren't so great. But this time I'm gonna go with the side character, and him. He was hands down the android is the best character in the movie, and has some of and has all the best lines. Some of the characters had some great lines too, but like almost every line, the first time we see him when uh, you have been rescued, please stop resisting. After he knocks the air out of her, and it's just it's great from the first time you see him all the way to the last time you see him, where it's such a touching moment, and he's just like, he knows he's not going to make it, but he's doing everything he can to make sure that the mission is a success, and he's going out fighting and taking every last shot and dying, and he may not be a human or an alien like humanoid, but you really feel for me. You really feel like he has feelings, you know. Just like you always feel like R2 has feelings, at least I do. Yeah, it's awesome. And C3PO has feelings. Usually fear. That's the biggest feeling you get from C3PO is fear. Or worry.
Yeah, good point.
But yeah, so they definitely make these droids more human. So yeah, that's like I said, the best line, the best scene, and he's the best character. So that's my opinion. We
okay.
should go to Boris next because it's almost been 2.5 hours.
Yep. Let's go to you, Boris. What were your favorite character or characters or favorite scenes? And I'm going to go
Uh,
use the ladies' room, Kroll, if you can ask Tammy after Boris.
Okay.
I'm in the bathroom. So,
so my
I just want to tell
favorite.
you guys real quick. My favorite was the droid, and my favorite scene was when the droid shot all them people when they were in the control room. And when he put his life on the line and wiped everybody out until he died. That was my favorite scene. So
Alrighty then. And
Okay.
the real Boris, please speak up.
uh,
Well,
my
no, I
favorite.
mean, I kind of have a an apartment issue going on. That's why I was back
Okay,
quiet.
well Boris has to leave in like 4 minutes ago, so
Uh,
Okay,
uh,
bye.
bye.
okay, so my favorite character, yeah, I also liked the droid, although I did also like Jean, except for the part when she was like she didn't care about the rebellion, but okay, maybe
It made
that's me
sense.
because
Think about it, the way she grew up. I would probably feel the same way. To her, the empire was evil and the rebellion wasn't that much better to her. She just kind of, the way she grew up in her life, is just kind of, it's just the life she lived. It just, so she saw things in a different light. So I mean, I love the
uh,
character. I just, my favorite character is the droid. So.
mm, yeah, I get it.
I
Okay, that
mean,
was just
not saying your opinion isn't valid. I'm just giving you my thoughts on why she would have that opinion. It kind of makes sense to me why she would
yeah,
feel that way.
well, you do have a point. I was speaking from my own point of view because I'm generally a bit of a rebellious person myself. I always wish I could overthrow everyone who thinks they can put themselves in the position of power over someone else. Uh,
Well,
the,
I mean, I'm not a fan of lots of leaders, but I'm also not a fan of anarchy, and I think we need to have leaders. I'm just not exactly a fan of the leaders that we have. But leaders are important,
uh,
but there can be good
uh,
leaders. You know, it,
yeah, that
Jim
would.
Rohn was a marketing leader, okay, and he was incredible. The dude talks, and I listen. The dude is like he's like, to me, he's like a god, in that he talks and I do what he says. It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing how much he affects me, like just the way he talks and his voice and
Uh,
everything. It's amazing. But
uh,
I mean, I know he's not a
yeah,
god,
well,
but I'm just
the
saying I don't worship him, but he's just incredible. So
yeah, I get it.
just want to point that out. That
The problem is
not
that
all leaders are bad, and leadership isn't a bad thing per se.
in theory, yeah, but nowadays
Believe
being
that
a leader
And like I
is
said, there are some leaders that aren't bad. I mean, I think Reagan was a good leader. I don't think Nancy was good, but I think Reagan was good.
uh,
I think Trump was
yeah,
good, and people might wanna strike me down and kill me where I sit for saying that, but I thought Trump was really good. I mean, I seen a thing where it's comparing Trump and Biden and everything that's happened, and hands down, even Trump haters can admit that it was better under Trump. Were we in a
I
war? Was there a war with Trump and
I'm
this and that and a bunch of things? So yeah.
I'm not a fan of either, but I'm also not someone who would argue with people over politics and quit friendships over who supports or doesn't
Oh, I
support
agree.
which politician.
yeah, I
I
don't
I
get
had,
into
I
do
had
it
an
either
ex.
about that.
I had an ex that stopped talking to Mo, not because he disagreed with her, because he slightly disagreed with the way she was saying something, and I completely disagreed with her and was completely for Trump, and she
I,
stopped being friends with Mo for his opinion of it,
I
even
just
though his
like
opinion
people
agreed with her more than me, and
I
my
just like
opinion completely
people
disagreed with her.
who stop being friends with people because of their politics.
It's stupid. And
It,
Uh,
Mo is like whatever. I mean,
it
he
that
is
likes
just
her.
stupid,
that
yeah.
just means that that politician has more control over you
Exactly. And the
than
funny
you
thing
can
about
be
it, she
friends.
lived in England. Like,
Huh.
why does she care so much about the American president when she lived in England? Like, why do they care so freaking much? I mean, I get maybe caring, but really to that degree, like, it's not even. It's not even your leader. Yeah.
I wouldn't get that worked up even if it was about Croatian
I agree.
politicians.
Me neither. But yeah, I agree. But at least if it was her leader, I can understand it slightly more.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
like when the Queen died, like stores shut down and businesses shut down, and it was just like a huge thing.
Oh, and
Of course, of
heard-
course, that makes
when-
more sense because she was the queen for fucking 60 years.
Although
You know?
some people would say
oh,
there's
and that
still a Queen of England.
when that happened, I heard from some people from England who were fucking pissed off that football was cancelled because of the Queen's death.
Fuck them and their soccer. You know, it should have been canceled. She was the freaking queen for 60 years. Show some respect. I understand it. I mean, we don't have a king and queen here, and not that she had any power because she didn't. Parliament ran the country just like Congress runs this country. You know, it doesn't matter who the president is because they're just a fucking puppet for the most part, to a degree. I mean, they have a little bit more power than the king or queen does, but trust me, Queen
I'll
Elizabeth.
say one thing about Trump.
Maybe she had
no
power at one
problem.
point, but
He had
Oh
no
my,
problem
what have I
doing anything
started?
he wanted to get through. I'll say one thing about Trump. He had no problem using his veto to get things through.
exactly.
Using
Exactly. And
what?
that's where the president does have a little bit of power, is their power of veto. But most presidents don't utilize it. So Trump was way less of a puppet than any other president we probably ever had. I don't know, maybe Reagan or Kennedy too. I don't really know. But Trump was definitely not a puppet. And
The worst thing I will say
that's why he was
is
so controversial. And
he
people
did
either loved him or
cause
hated him.
insurrection against the he did incite insurrection against the White House.
No, he didn't. That's your opinion.
That's not an opinion.
That's your opinion. We shouldn't talk about politics.
No, but let
Okay,
go. Let us go for further into favorite characters and favorite scenes. Boris, are you done?
yes.
Okay. Then I will.
And Tammy
favorite
already went.
scene.
She jumped. If you didn't know, she jumped in front of Boris. That's what I said. Boris, Boris, go ahead. And she jumped in because she said she had to go, and of course Boris had to go too. So she went.
Yeah, I texted my friends. I said I would be a few minutes late, but yeah, I do have to leave very soon. But yeah,
So, I'll do my favorite character or characters and favorite scenes. So my favorite character, of course, is the android. I liked him. I think
we
he's
all
kind
agree on.
of like a focal point of the movie. And I loved his lines, and now that I know who he is, I love the character even better. I even think he's better than 3PO. As far
I
as
agree. He's not
like,
better than R2. R2 still remains my number one.
yeah, R2 has grown on me, especially since
R2's always been my favorite. 3PO was growing on me. Like, he annoyed me more. He's 3PO's growing on me. R2 I've always loved R2. Yeah, I'm like BB-8, but BB-8 I'd have to put at the bottom.
yeah, V8's like kind of in the middle between R2 and
BB-8.
yeah.
Well, who would you put him in front of?
I would put him in between. I know he's better than 3PO.
So you put 3PO at the end.
I put 3PO at the end because he's kind of a whiny bitch. Like
Yeah, but I don't know. I just, like I said, he's growing on me.
But I do like 3PO. I do like 3PO.
Oh, I get it. I get it.
But he's kind of a whiny bitch by the end of
it. For me, it's R2, K2SO, 3PO and BB-8. I don't know. BB-8 just doesn't. He has a personality, but he just doesn't. His personality doesn't shine like the others.
I
And that's
also
what.
BB-8 is
I
Even
also
if
very
like
even
the
if
cool.
robot.
even if 3PO's personality can be annoying,
I also like
it
the
shines better.
android. I also like the android in Solo.
Oh, I forgot about that one. I guess I'd put that. I'd put that one below 3PO and above BB-8. So again, I'd keep BB-8 at the bottom.
But as far as favorite scenes go, I guess it comes to like the favorite lines. I do like the Vader moment. That part is fucking great. I love the like I said, the the Star Destroyers getting destroyed there. But I do like the one-liners a lot. Like the part where Chera,
Sheriff,
yeah, Chera.
Sheriff.
But when he says, "Hey, come on, I was
Oh,
right,"
Gerard.
um,
I thought you were
or
saying the planet of Scarif. You were talking about Sheriff.
yeah, or the
Days.
every single line that comes from the android.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's what I had said.
just
Like
great.
K2SO. Call him K2
Anything
for short.
dealing with K2SO was my favorite.
Yeah, K2. Every line was great. From the second you meet him all the way to the end.
Exactly.
And Tammy said his final scene was her favorite.
But in any case,
Yeah, and I also
go ahead.
yes.
You were going to say something?
Yeah, I think I didn't say my favorite scene. I think it would also be the final scene when we saw Darth Vader and Leia because
Yeah.
that CGI there was really impressive.
It was. Tarkin was pretty good too. I think.
Oh, it was
Yes,
incredible.
I mean, you could tell it was CGI, but at the same time, seeing
Well, the first time I saw Tarkin, I was like, wait, he died. For like a second, it just kind of threw me off. Like, holy shit. And then I realized it was CGI. So, like, for a second, it looked so friggin' real. I mean, obviously, when I saw Carrie Fisher, that was CGI because, she was alive then, but she was way too old to play a
yeah,
18-year-old version of herself.
Governor Tarkin was played by Guy Henry. Just so you know, at least in
Yeah.
this one. So,
Well, I mean, I knew it wasn't him, obviously, but
yeah, I think that's pretty much it, ladies and gentlemen. So hopefully you enjoyed our discussion on Rogue One, and I look forward to talking about the original Star Wars. And I hope everyone one knows to watch the one with all the extra special effects because honestly, even though I like the original, I do like the special effects that went with it. So
yeah, I noticed that I never clarified that in the discussion. So we probably should say something in the movie discussion so that make sure everyone watches the correct one. Because honestly, I didn't even think about it. I just always end up watching the newest version with all the special effects, so I don't think about it sometimes. But there are a few versions, so we should probably clarify.
yep. So
Actually, I already started to watch it. Because it popped up on Disney Plus for after Rogue One. I own the movies on Blu-ray, but I have Disney Plus, so I figured save
and I
myself
made
some
sure
trouble.
when Tammy picked up her Star Wars ones that they were in fact the special effects one. So
I need to get the originals on VHS. I
I
want to get the originals on VHS, and I want to get the special edition on VHS just to own them. You know.
I've got
Um,
the double feature versions on DVD where where it has the original non special effects and the the
Nice.
special effects ones.
That's not, I wouldn't mind having that too, but I mean, I want the originals in their original state. You know, like I'm not the type of person to normally want that. Like Mo loves that stuff, but this is Star Wars. You know, so this is an exception to the rule. This is like something I want for my Star Wars collection, not for like a movie collection, but for Star Wars collection.
You want the VHS stuff.
I want Star Wars collection, and it's what started it all. You know, the very first. I mean, well, if I could, I'd get the Beta Max version of Star Wars that I originally saw after I saw the theater, because my uncle had a Betamax machine when they first came out, and he got Star Wars in Betamax. And I'm sure it's out there, but I'm sure I can't afford it.
I saw Star Wars Empire Strikes Back the first time on Laserdisc. I had a
That's another thing. My uncle had one of them on a Laserdisc too.
I've got a Laserdisc.
My uncle Kevin, he had money. He's always had money, so he's always gotten everything right away.
I was thankful that when I worked for my mom's resale shop, a working Laserdisc came in.
Yeah, you told me that story.
Yep.
Yeah. Gotta
So,
tell the audience.
but that being said, hopefully you enjoyed our discussion on this film. Like, share, and subscribe. Let us know down in the comments what you thought of our discussion, and hopefully.
And look, we went longer than the movie lasted.
Hopefully,
Yes.
tomorrow night on Inside Movies Galore, you'll follow us even further, where our other group will be discussing Star Wars,
and prepare for a later night, because it's probably going to go longer as well. As much as I
Star
like to get out
Wars,
by 11, it's most likely going to go longer, especially because
Empire
there's more
Strikes
people.
Back the following week, and then Return of the Jedi.
Yeah, you know, I know that he says he does things random, but I really, really am shocked that my pick randomly got hit next after Star Wars, and then his Return of the Jedi right after that. So I honestly don't think it was. I don't mind that he didn't do random, but I don't think he did. I mean, if he did, that's amazing, because we could have had Return of the Jedi, and then I mean, we definitely would have had New Hope first, Star Wars first, because that was my birthday pick. But after that, we could have Return of the Jedi and then Empires, you know, or neither, or one, or you know, or it could have gone so many different ways. And the fact that it went that way, it kind of makes me think he didn't do it that way, like he purposely did it. But
Yeah.
either way, I'm not complaining. But if it was totally random, that's amazing. That's the force right there. If it was random.
I'm gonna choose my movie for next week. I think I pretty much.
Oh no, you again?
Yep, it's me.
There we go.
Ready Player One next week.
Oh my gosh, that's a good movie. Holy shit!
What did you? How did you say?
Ready
Player
Player
One.
Ready Player.
It's a video game
Ready.
movie, dude. But it's actually.
Ready.
So, Carol, since you didn't come on for Ghosts in the Darkness, did you even watch it?
Who, me?
Yeah, you.
No. That's why I
You
didn't
didn't
come
even
on.
watch it?
That's why I didn't come on.
Oh.
I forgot to
Ready
watch it. By the time
Player
I
I've
realized
been
I
One.
forgot
curious
to
to
watch
see
it. It was
what
too
you
late.
thought of it.
Huh?
I was curious to see what you thought of it, and then you didn't come on.
I'm sorry. I've seen it before, but it's been so long that I wouldn't be able to. You know, it would be like when I came on the Monday discussion 2 weeks ago, and thinking that I'd seen the movie, and then realized I hadn't seen Black Cauldron, because when I put the movie on, it was a Black Crystal, and I got the two mixed up. So I never watched the Black Cauldron, and I realized it. So that's why I was very short on everything I said. I hadn't watched the movie.
So next
Just-
week,
I think everything I said. I just kind of repeated what you guys said and then didn't say much. Sorry, it's the first time I've ever done that, but I kind of was like, "Oh shit, I never saw this movie." I didn't realize until we were on the fucking discussion.
but yeah. So
Just in case you
everyone,
were wondering.
next week Sunday, we're going to be watching Ready Player One. So
Yeah, it's actually a good movie. Okay, so we're watching the anime, right? Not you, Tammy. Was it Ghost in the Shell anime, right?
What?
Ghost in the Shell?
no.
No, that was last week was Ghost in the Darkness that I wanted to know if you liked.
Oh, Ghost in the
Didn't come on.
Darkness. My mistake. Okay, let me. I will. I don't watch anything anymore, but I'll watch that. Just 'cause I was curious, and I know
The
you
Ghost
want
in the
someone.
Darkness.
Mo used to go all the time. I want to talk to him about something, and he's like, "Oh, I still haven't seen it," or whatever. So I will watch it, and I'll tell you my opinion.
All right.
And it was
Not
your birthday
fully-
too. I'm sorry I missed your birthday movie. I didn't. I've been so busy, trying to do the business that I haven't really. I mean, I've missed. Basically, I mean, I was there 2 weeks ago on a Monday night, but I hadn't watched the movie, so I basically missed like 2 of those, and I've missed an episode of this, and I'm not doing it on purpose. I was just so busy that I'm not really doing anything about that, you know. So I'm just kind of trying to be laser focused.
Okay, no problem. And by the way, Boris, I like your cute little owl cage there.
Oh, thank
Oh,
you.
is that what that is?
Yes,
I thought it
owls.
was like a glass case, like the city of Candor is in Superman.
Uh,
On
yeah, the
that
thing
note,
is, yes.
everyone say good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night. Hoo
Hoot hoot.
hoo. May the force be with you.
With you too.